It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Honey. .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. And if Miss Mary's out there listening, because I know she's working real hard right about now, Drew got everything up and running. He and I were kind of troubleshooting the problem, and he just went and reset everything. Everything. And so now it seems like we're all up and running. So radio check, Miss Mary. How you copy?
Today's show is sponsored by Banana Scented Nose Hair Clippers. Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
Yeah, I bet. Actually, that is a product that I would I would clip my nose hairs more often.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. History almost repeats itself, but not quite. During the course of the weekend, a whole lot of drivers got caught in a massive blizzard in Donner Pass. Yeah. Now, this was bad. I know. Go ahead. Tell your jokes. I'm sure the people who were stuck there were telling jokes, too. So it got up to like 18 inches by Saturday, and then it just kept snowing throughout. They're going to get more snow today. So bad that they sent any kind of vehicle that could get in there not to get the vehicles out. They're not even trying. They just pulled people out. The vehicle, that can wait. You got a car stuck there, a semi-truck, whatever, it can wait. Don't worry, it's snow. If the semi-truck is a refrigerated or freezer truck, it'll be fine. It's stuck in the snow. So that's where they're at right now with more snow expected to come. But it just really got me that this would happen of all places on Donner Pass. Now, I want to be fair to these folks that were stuck out there. Oh, yeah, Jim and Casper's. 5x5, Jim? Is that how you're receiving me here? Okay, because we had issues earlier this morning. All right, so this group of people, it was a lot of vehicles. There were forecasts of heavy snow this weekend. Now, of course, by the way, that's in California, but it's I-80 in California. So, of course, the highway that should have never been built where it is built should have never been built there, not just through Wyoming, but other parts, including California. But all right. For me, I've had the problem. I know you have too. I've been out on Wyoming's highways, and the weather did something that it wasn't forecasted to do. And all of a sudden, I'm just out on the highway with a bunch of other travelers while they're closing the interstate. And I'm out there, and this is not what I wanted to do. And I've been on some back highways in Wyoming where that's happened. But for the most part, I watch the forecast closely. And I just flat out tell people, if it looks like something could turn bad, I'm not going. I don't care. They can call me chicken, whatever. I'm not doing it. I've seen this. I'm not doing this. It's not a matter of being scared. It's a matter of being wise. Okay, so with all the people that got caught in Donner Pass, again, just let the jokes fly. I'm sure the people who were stuck there have been doing the same thing. So for all those people who got stuck in there, do you think, and I asked up the hallway here on the country station is Drew, and I asked him, so what do you think, Drew? Either of these people never looked at the forecast, or they did but decided to go for it anyway. Because the forecast clearly showed that they shouldn't try to go through that pass on 80. Go way south, go around. I know it's a long way out of your ways, but go way south and go around. Don't go through there. And they knew this. It's not like back in the days of the Donner Party where they didn't know what the weather forecast was. These people did know. So what do you think is the explanation, Drew? I asked him. Do you think that they looked at the forecast, saw it, and didn't care? Or they were just not looking at the forecast, they just went for it anyway? What's the answer? I liked his answer. He said, well, it's California. Okay, say no more. Yeah, so it's a bunch of idiots in California. What do you expect them to do? Yeah, okay. And he did add a little caveat in there. A lot of these people are probably not used to this because they're living in, I-80 in that area is taking them to Southern California, where they're probably not used to this. Maybe I can give a few people a break because I have been stuck in the storm. Well, not stuck, but been on an interstate where I knew I shouldn't have been out there because, again, that's not what the forecast said. So I can give some people that, give them a little bit of ignorance or whatever. But in the wintertime especially, I don't travel unless I am really well briefed on that forecast. Now, Jim, you and I know that from flying, but I do that when I'm driving too. Before I go anywhere, what am I dealing with here? And I check the forecast along the way. Morning, Rianne. Rianne's reaction is Soylent Green and Donner Pass. What a delightful thing to hear. First thing Monday morning. Yes. Jude and Mills. I drove through Truckee in 1986 blizzard. Got solid snow chains for got sold snow chains for $25. One said, and sold them back. Oh, so you bought for $25 some snow chains and sold them back on the other side for half price. That's fine. That's thinking. So you got through that storm for half price. That makes total sense to me. Okay, so for the rest of the morning, I'm sure I'm going to have fun with the Donner Pass joke. To my knowledge, there has not been any cannibalism. Not that we know of. So people have been and are still being rescued. But again, they're not even trying to get people's vehicles out. Not even worth it. There's still more snow coming down. All right, I'll keep you posted on that. And maybe later this morning, I'll pull up a whole pile of Donner Party jokes for you. I mean, why not? Sure, what the hell. Now, next up, I do have here, Nikki Haley actually won one. Yeah, it was in Washington, D.C. Nikki Haley finally won a primary. We'll get into this a little bit. I don't want to overanalyze it, but first off, it's in Washington, D.C. Think about the size, the population of Washington, D.C. It's a pretty good-sized city. But there's only 2,000 registered Republicans. And because of that, Trump didn't even bother to show up and try. He didn't even want to try. He just looked at it and thought, you have establishment Washington, D.C. Republicans. Why would I even bother? And so he didn't. So Nikki Haley won that one. Anyway, hang up. We'll talk about that in just a moment. News and information break.
Who put the toaster oven on 6? I mean, that's not even good toast. 4 is good toast. 5 is burnt toast, but 6? What were you cremating in my toaster oven?
Well, that image is going to stick with you all. Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, okay, over the course of the weekend, Nikki Haley finally won one in the District of Columbia. Story says Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley was declared the winner Sunday night, District of Columbia, in the GOP primary. The Associated Press, which, of course, always be suspect of Associated Press news for good reasons, declared Haley the winner. Let's see, the win was Haley's first primary of the season, in which the front-running candidate, Donald Trump, previously had been undefeated. The former South Carolina governor and UN ambassador picked up 19 delegates. However, Trump has a couple hundred. Trump lost the 2020 Washington, D.C. primary to then-candidate former GOP Senator Marco Rubio. So Trump looked at D.C., which has to my, in fact, let me look this up because I hadn't thought about this until just now. Let's see. Population. I can't spell right now. You ever do that? Not state, Washington, D.C. Okay. For some reason, I couldn't spell Washington. All right. I got it out. Don't worry. So, okay, the population of Washington, D.C. Now, this is not including the outer line area because if you just take the city limits of Washington, D.C., it's bigger than Wyoming. It's 712,816 as of 2020. Now, when you take the entire metropolitan area, it's going to be bigger than that. So my understanding, though, is this is just people within Washington, D.C. voting. Now, out of the 712,816 people, not all, of course, are adults. So we got to figure out how many are of voting age. Only 2,000 are Republicans. Okay, so she gets all of those Republican votes, in which case Trump said he wasn't even going to bother to try to campaign there. And he didn't. He didn't even bother. Just let her have it. Whatever. Doesn't matter to him because he has everything else. And we do have, Super Tuesday that's coming up this Tuesday, I believe, which ought to really settle the whole thing. She's way behind. So, yeah, Trump just is not even going to try to win D.C., and so he doesn't. So Nikki Haley walks away with it, but it's the same place that Trump lost last time he ran. So it's fine by him. He doesn't care. He's so far ahead. So why is Nikki Haley still in the race? I keep hearing people. In fact, I remember when the first, I was about to say primary, but caucus was held. And Nikki Haley lost. And immediately people said she needs to drop out. Well, hold on. It was just the first one. These two have a long way to go. How do you already exclude her, just the first one, when she has such a long way to go? Well, okay. So let's take a look at why she might still be in. And I think it's in part because she still looks at Donald Trump as someone, and this isn't, by the way, this isn't over yet, folks, just so you know. Nothing is over until it is actually over. There's so much going on with Donald Trump right now that as much as Trump supporters out there want him in, you have to be very careful. You understand how weird politics is, right? Okay. So Haley wants to stay in because she still thinks, hey, I'm the one. I still think I can pull this off even if I don't win the primary. It seems to be what she's going for. Now, my answer is if she wants to run, it's a free country, go ahead. I don't see her as hurting anybody or anything by staying in the race. She doesn't do any damage to anyone or anything by staying in the race. She also is trying to make a point. What she's saying is she just wanted to show that not every Republican out there wants Donald Trump. There's still a considerable percentage of Republicans who are just not in favor of Trump. Now, on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at Biden because even though Biden's winning every single primary, there's a considerable number of Democrats out there that are just voting for nobody. I mean, literally, they just are voting nobody. It's not that they didn't vote. They did. They just voted nobody because they just want Biden to understand that we're not happy. So in both parties, I take a look at a problem that each of them have that they need to solve, they need to fix. And if I could just hit the reset button on all this personally, I would. This whole thing is really an interesting mess. But now, at least it's great show prep for me. So I'll go ahead and toss out that I appreciate the show prep that everybody involved in this so far is providing for us, which is why I'm just so sad that Bernie Sanders isn't running. You know how much I love it when Bernie Sanders runs because he's so much fun to pick on. He's so easy to pick on. I would like some more Democrats in there. In fact, let me go ahead and check because I don't think any have dropped. Not to my knowledge that any have dropped out. Let me see. Democrats running for president. There, instead of trying to type it in, no. Google decided that I had said crash running for president. Well, the Democrat Party is the car crash party. I mean, come on. Okay, presidential candidates who are the 2024 presidential candidate, New York Times. Okay, so Democrats. Okay, there's still Phillips and Wilmington. So there are two Democrats that are running against Joe Biden. They haven't dropped out yet, even though Biden is winning everything. That's the Independent Party. There's Kennedy, West, and Jill Stein is still running. Okay. And then they have a whole list of candidates that have dropped out over here. So, yeah, there's 3 Independent Party candidates here, none of which I really care to vote for. I might have to take a look at them just for the fun of taking a look at them, but I don't see anyone. Jill Stein, activist, running for president I think she's a Green Party candidate. We'll see how that works out. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of right after local news, it's a weather forecast. You and I get back into it. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. It's 888-97-WOODS. Hello, Ted and Mills. At least they had plenty to eat, those people stuck in Donner Pass. Yeah. Well, there were more people available. I mean, you think about it. Heidi, John, Morning Glenn. I wonder if Dave from San Francisco will call since 80 ends in San Francisco. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, where I just left off, Nikki Haley finally won Washington, D.C. We're in D.C. city limits. There's only 2,000 Republicans, as you can imagine, out of a little over 700,000 people. And Trump didn't win last time. And I don't know if he even won the time before that. But, as far as he's concerned, the Republicans in D.C. are just establishment rhinos, and he doesn't care. And there's only 2,000 people that could vote for him, so he didn't even bother. So I just kind of let Haley have that one. So this is a good one. Red in Casper. There was a poll, so probably not completely trustworthy, he writes, that said Biden versus Trump would be a close race, but Biden versus Haley would result in a pretty solid win for Haley. Just thought that was interesting. And I'm not big on polls either, but I do understand, as much as you Trump supporters don't want to hear this, whether you like Trump or love the guy or not, he still is in a whole bunch of controversy. Justified or not, doesn't matter. He is. And there's a whole lot of never-Trumpers out there. So now, then again, here are the same people who don't want to vote for Biden either. So what would they do if they're Republicans, right? So that really does. And then I wonder how many people who could go either way politically, your more moderate people, really want Trump in power, but look at Biden going like him either. What are my choices here? So I can see how that would be a really close race. Nationally speaking, here in Wyoming, Trump has it, but nationally speaking. Haley, on the other hand, whether you like her or not, does not show up. She's a lot younger. She doesn't show up with a whole lot of baggage. She's got a good track record as a governor and a good track record as our ambassador to the UN. Perfect for you Republicans? No. But you see where I'm going with this. At least she shows up with a younger age than both of them and not a whole lot of baggage. So I can look at that poll that says, well, she might have a better chance against Biden and go, okay, maybe. I can see a lot of middle-of-the-road people who don't want to vote for old Biden anymore look over at Nikki Haley and go, well, out of my two choices, I guess I'll settle for Haley. But again, it's all speculation because, as you know, I think polls are crap, honestly. Now, as I mentioned, though, there's other candidates out there. Just for the fun of it, I want to look at some of these. So on the Democrat ticket, there's Biden, Phillips, and Wilmington. So, okay, Dean Phillips, moderate Democrat, elected to the House in 2018, much younger guy, has few major political disagreements with Biden. See, that's a big problem right there. Supports his agenda in Congress, but argues that Biden's age is the problem. An heir to a Minnesota liquor business is where he got his money. Okay, so there's that. Williamson, never heard of her. Marianne Williamson, a self-help author and former spiritual advisor to Oprah Winfrey. I got to do that again. That was fun. Marianne Williamson, self-help author and former spiritual advisor to Oprah, is running for a second time. Her unsuccessful 2020 campaign, she called for a federal department. You're going to love this. She called for a federal Department of Peace, supported reparations for slavery, and called Trumpism a symptom of, you Trump supporters suffer from an illness in the American psyche, in fact, that could not be cured with political policies. She also has promoted dubious or debunked medical theories, particularly on mental illness. You think? Because she was a spiritual advisor to Oprah, so come on. All right, Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., nephew of former President John F. Kennedy, prominent anti-vax activist, initially ran for Democrat nomination before announcing in October that he would run as an independent. He was promoted, but he was debunking claims that childhood vaccines were linked to autism and so on and so on. It goes on to talk about his limited political career there. I knew that I wasn't going. He was once an environmental lawyer. I knew that I had a problem with him when he started talking about solving income inequality. And I thought, in that case, forget it. No, I'm not going to. Cornel West, another independent, taught at Yale, Princeton, and Harvard University. He is currently a professor of philosophy at Union Theological Seminary. He is known for his progressive activism, including his sharp criticism of President Barack Obama. To him, Obama is not leftist enough. Finally, Jill Stein, physician who ran for president, Green Party ticket in 2012-2016, seeking the party's nomination for a third time. Called for an economic bill of rights that would include guaranteed right to employment, healthcare, housing, food, and education, all as rights. See, Jude in Mills, Nikki cheated on her husband. Her husband is now part of it. Oh, okay, so you're going to go after Nikki Haley in that one? Okay. Jim in Laramie, Haley is a Liz Cheney supporter. Both you and Jude are saying that. Very disappointed in her. Yeah, okay. But I look at, nationally speaking, I'm thinking of across the nation, there are people who don't know all of that. So who would do better against Biden? Would it be Haley or Trump? And I know you Trump supporters, well, Trump will. Now, but you got to realize there's a lot of Trump hate out there. No, I mean hate from people who are not like you. They just hate the guy. So that does create a problem with him when it gets into the general election.
Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Live content, chat live, and listen on demand.
6:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, you're going to want to tell jokes here. I'm just going to say go ahead, but caution, okay?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. So, huge snowstorm. I know this is going to be a shock to you. Closed down a section of I-80. Specifically, Donner Pass.
Which has a lot of snow there.
Which has a lot of snow over the entire weekend. Drivers have been stuck all weekend in Donner Pass.
In Jackson, they canceled half of the state alpine ski meets.
I believe it, yeah.
Too much snow and no visibility. And Friday, they said they shouldn't even have raced at all.
Yeah, okay. Now, back to the Donner Pass thing, the Donner Party. Yeah. And people stuck there all weekend. Can't get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that right away not just the people hearing this story from the outside, but people who are stuck in their vehicles all weekend would have been telling Donner Party jokes.
Donner Party.
Yes. The people who got stuck there back in the 1800s and ended up committing cannibalism to survive.
Oh.
That Donner Party.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a repeat, but with modern vehicles. Now, emergency crews have shown up not to get the vehicles out. The vehicles can stay. There's no way.
The people need to leave.
The people need to leave. And they still have to, because more snow is coming down today. So that's all they can do is just get the people out of there. But I want to use the picture, though. If you were on the interstate and got stuck, and you look off to your right, and there's a sign that says Donner Pass, and you realize this is where the Donner Party got stuck.
Isn't that the one where they have like a fork and a knife on the sign too?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's hysterical. Donner Party picnic site. See, this is what I'm talking about here, Frank. Right away, even people stuck there start to joke.
Oh, my God. Men's college basketball from over the weekend. The Wyoming Cowboys lost again, this time at Colorado State in Fort Collins on Saturday, 70-62. Pokes are 13-16 overall, 6-10 in Mountain West play, and they're pretty much irrelevant right now with 2 games in league play to go, plus the conference tournament in Vegas. UW 5 of 19 from the three-point line. They shot just 38% from the floor. Cam Manyow had a nice game, 15 points, but Sam Griffin and Akul Cott went a combined 4 of 22 from the floor. Cowboys will host Air Force tomorrow in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team picked up a win over Fresno State on Saturday in Laramie, 62-51. So they are 16-12 overall, 11-6 in Mountain West play. Douglas High School grad Allison Fertig with a terrific game, 24 points on 7 of 11 from the field and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. And UW will be at San Diego State tomorrow. Junior college basketball, the Casper College women rated 17th in the country, beat LCCC in Cheyenne 83-63 on Saturday. So they're 25-5 on the year. Andy Schlister and Angela Astorga each had 16 points for the T-Birds, who will host the Region 9 tournament this week in Casper. The LCCC women are 11-17 on the year. Casper College men's team beat L Trip 90-86 on Saturday to improve the 22-8. Malik Rebetas had 22 for the Birds, who will host a Region 9 play-in game this week. State 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament concluded on Saturday in Casper. In 2A, the Wyoming Indian boys beat Lusk 48-42 for the state championship. Tongue River won the 2A girls title, beating the Lingo Fort Laramie 46-43. Upton repeated as the 1A boys champion with a 55-36 win over Saratoga, and Southeast won the 1A girls title, beating Upton 45-40. State 3A and 4A tournament will begin on Thursday in Casper. In 4A boys, Cheyenne East, Cheyenne Central, Laramie, and Natrona all qualified. In 4A girls, Cheyenne East, Laramie, and Kelly Walsh made the tournament. The state indoor high school track meet concluded on Saturday in Gillette. In 4A boys, Natrona's Caden Lee won 3 events: the high jump, the long jump, and the triple jump. Sheridan won the 4A boys team championship. In 4A girls, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East won 3 events: the 55-meter dash, the 200, and the long jump. Maddie Matson of Cheyenne East also won 3 events: the 800, the 1600, and the 3200. And Cheyenne East won the 4A girls team title. That's in sports.
Okay, so you've got all of the events that were supposed to happen in Jackson shut down.
Well, they shut half of it down.
Oh, half it down. Okay.
Somebody posted the picture. It's supposed to be of the mountain.
Yeah.
And you saw nothing.
Wow. That's a pretty big mountain to hide.
Nothing. So, I mean, what they have? They're expecting 2 to 4 feet?
Yes. Yeah, I believe more. So, when we go from west of here, they have a lot of snow. Here in east of here, we're right on the edge. Especially as you go more east, it just got less and less weather. So
it was windy over the weekend, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly was that. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to talk about. Going to roll into news time and then update on your weather forecast. At 7:45, Don Day is going to be on to talk about that weather forecast and how much snow some people have been getting and other people are not getting. We seem to be right in the middle of a divide, right down the middle of Wyoming. So wake up, Wyoming.
20.
$7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. And I've had a Monday, I tell you. I just... I'll explain in just a second. Hang on.
Today's show is sponsored by banana-scented nose hair clippers. Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
And I would definitely clip my nose hairs far more often if I had the money.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So I came in this morning, and of course, we live by computers here in this day and age. The days of analog radio are gone. Everything's so computer-driven, which is great because I'm very productive with all of this. But then it just didn't want to connect to the internet, and it was an internal problem with all of our computers and the internet. Got it fixed, but that took away most of my morning. Now, I'm not one of those who looks at a Monday and goes, well, it's just a Monday for it. So depressed. I don't get that way. Just things happen. You fix it, you move on. I wrote about it in The Uncomplicated Life. I stay in a good mood. I don't get emotional about it. I fix it and move on. But I had a morning where I spent most of my time just trying to work through internet issues. Now everything is up and running again. Okay, before I get into the next story, I want to just go back and touch on what I was talking last hour, because I thought this was actually an interesting conversation. So Nikki Haley finally won one. Washington, D.C., out of all of the over 7,000 people within these city limits, there's like 2,000 Republicans. So I said 7,000, 700,000, over 700,000. There's like 2,000 Republicans, and she won that one. Trump didn't even show up. Now, she didn't get all 2,000, no, but she got like 60-some% of it. Trump didn't, a bunch of establishment rhinos. I'm not even going to try. And he's lost there before, so he didn't really care. But the conversation I was having with people, and I realized I'm not looking at this as what you might think my opinion is on Trump or any of the other candidates. Forget that. Put all that aside. I do think polls are nonsense, and political pundits trying to predict things is not worth your time. Because often what happens has nothing to do with what anybody saw. Nobody sees it coming. Like when Trump won the first time, there were people who laughed when Trump said he was going to run for president. Then he actually did run, and they laughed. And then he's up on stage debating the other Republicans, and people are still laughing at him. You're not going to win this. And then he wins it in a landslide. And that just shocked everybody. Yeah, okay, he won that, but he's not going to be president. Well, isn't this really shocking how this works? And then when the last election, and now we have President Biden, did you see that coming? You can get really mad about that and give all the explanations you want, but did you see that coming? Bet you didn't. You can never predict anything with politics, all right? Now, having said that, just for the fun of it, let's just take strategy for a minute, okay? Don't try to think as if you're a Trump supporter, for example, as a Trump supporter. Just think strategy. So, yeah, Biden comes with a lot of baggage. I don't know why anybody supports him at all. Most Democrats didn't vote for Biden to vote for Biden. They voted against Trump. That's the reason most Democrats voted for him. They were voting against Trump. It's not like they're Biden fans, all right? Biden was not like, remember the cult of Obama? It wasn't like that. It just, Biden wasn't Trump, so they voted for Biden. And here they go again, and I'm going to vote for Biden again? God. Well, they're certainly not going to vote for Trump. There's a lot of moderates out there that can vote either Democrat or Republican. I know a lot of you listening in Conservativeville here don't understand that, but they can. And they're looking at both Biden and Trump and going, oh, God, this again? I don't want to do that. There are conservatives in the Republican Party who are never Trumpers. Now, many people who are very conservative Trump supporters will look at that and go, how can you be a conservative and not be for Trump? Trust me, there's many people who are very conservative. They just don't like Trump. They hate the guy. They want him out. They want somebody else. So when matchups are done with polls, pause, Polls are garbage. Don't believe the polls. But when matchups are done with polls, Biden will lose to Trump. Trump will beat Biden narrowly. Nikki Haley has a better job at beating Biden. She does a better job at it because it's not that she has no baggage. She has far less baggage, is far less of a lightning rod, and is more of a moderate Republican, so even some moderate Republicans and Democrats would vote for her. All right. Now, having said that, and I do have, let me see, dear sister, let's see, I'm so glad a young person finally won something, but I still wish we had more choices for president this year. Yeah. Yeah, that's my sister in Lake Wales, Florida, saying that. Yeah, I think that's a big problem. This has not really been a good field of candidates that I would like to see. The kinds of people that I would love to run very rarely run. And when they do, they don't get very far. So I've never really seen a presidential, except for Ronald Reagan, I never really saw a presidential campaign where I was enthusiastic for anybody. All right. Red in Casper Morning Red, Trump doesn't have a squeaky clean past either. Why don't we focus on the politics instead of the historic character flaws that have nothing to do with running the government? Well, because I'm going to repeat something that Rush Limbaugh used to say. When it comes to running for president or being president, character matters. Character does matter. So you do want someone of good character to be in that office. All right. Now, for those who missed it, for those who heard it, pardon me, I'm going to repeat this because it was really, let's see. I'm going to repeat something I did last time. Or why would you do 2020? Okay. I'm trying to do candidates running for president, and it keeps giving me 2020. No, 2024. Okay. Candidates running for president in 2024. So here's what we have so far. On the Democrat ticket, Biden, a guy named Phillips, and a lady named Wilmington. Now, real quick, you're going to love Wilmington. Marianne Wilmington, a self-help author and former spiritual advisor to Oprah Winfrey, is running her second unsuccessful campaign for president. In the first campaign, she called for peace, supported reparations for slavery, called Trumpism basically a mental illness on the American psyche, and has promoted medical theories that have been dubiously debunked. Now, if you think she's bad, running once again for the Green Party, Jill Stein, a physician who ran for president for the Green Party ticket in 2012 and 2016, is seeking the party's nomination for a third time. In a video announcing her campaign, she called for an economic bill of rights that would include a guaranteed right to employment, a right to health care, a right to housing, a right to food, a right to education. And she, of course, wants to combat climate change, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, yeah, all of these things that she thinks is a right, which are not rights. Those are not what rights are. A right is not something that you get from the government for free. A right is not a product or a service provided for you by the government. Okay, so here's where we are right now in the presidential campaign. Of course, Republicans, it's Trump and Haley. I think Nikki Haley hangs on because she's hoping for something to happen. I mean, for those people who look at Donald Trump and think, well, he has this sewed up. Well, as far as nominations, yes, he does. He's going to get this. He's going to get all, when it comes time for the Republican convention, he's got pretty much every single vote. I mean, really does. But like I said, when it comes to politics, you never saw it coming. Weird things happen. That's why I say, despite everything you just heard me say, don't believe a word of it. Despite what the polls say, don't believe a word of it. You're talking about politics in the human race on planet Earth, and it just gets really weird and unpredictable, so you never know. Jude in Mills is saying Nikki has lost 8 states in a row. Yeah, and she'll lose more than that. When she gets to the to Republican convention here, she's not going to show up with a whole lot. But my theory, which is garbage, like every other political theory, is that she's hanging on, waiting for something unusual and extraordinary to happen. Oh, by the way, sometime this hour, supposedly, the Supreme Court is going to make a major ruling. And people are wondering, is that major ruling going to have to do with the Colorado case kicking Trump off the ballot? We don't know, but people are hoping that it is, so we can finally get that out of the way. 7:17, wake up.
He's not a politician, but his pants are on fire. Could someone grab an extinguisher? Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
$7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Hey, Mike, it's probably because Miss Mary was delayed coming in this morning. And try again in just a few minutes, and she'll be there. Just answering something that Micah sent just a moment ago. So, okay. There's a problem here with the Biden administration trying to buy votes. Now, one of them is Biden doing anything he can to try to cancel student debt. And he just will hope that will get the youth vote out. The next one is Biden administration announces paying college students to register to vote. Story says the Biden administration announced it will pay college students to register to vote and participate and get out the vote activities shortly after canceling student loan debt. It's a move Republicans and election integrity advocates are saying will mobilize Democrat voters with taxpayer dollars. After canceling student debt the prior week, Biden administration announced that it will pay college students to register to vote at GoTV efforts. It's a work-study program. Some election integrity proponents say this is an unprecedented occurrence in U.S. history, where federal government is using taxpayer funds to keep the incumbent president in power. Not the first time. Remember, the Obama administration used the IRS to try to keep conservatives from getting active during his second run for president. Having said that, you think maybe we're far enough in for my Don't Vote campaign? A lot of people misunderstand my Stay Out the Vote campaign. Do you pay much attention to politics? So what, do you get your news from Facebook, Twitter, maybe some late-night comedy show? Do you even have any idea who your senator is? Who's the vice president? So how do you decide who you're going to vote for? What, do you flip a coin? Every election season, there are get-out-the-vote campaigns, asking completely unqualified voters to show up at the polls at the last minute and flip a coin. If you spent the past few years completely uninformed and out of the loop, then do your country a favor. Don't show up at the polls. Don't vote. Take the day off. Go to the beach. Hang out at your local bar. Watch a ball game instead. Or check out some reality TV. Our nation's in sad shape because people like you have been voting. So this year, do your country a favor. Stay home. Stay out of the vote. America is depending on your apathy. Brought to you by the Campaign to Promote Uninformed Voter Apathy. See, every couple of years I run the Stay Out the Vote campaign, where there will be people who misunderstand it. I get calls from angry people, folks have a right to vote. I never said people didn't have the right to vote. I'm talking about the responsibility of the voter to actually stay on topic, stay informed, learn a little something. And Googling a couple of names doesn't tell you squat. You got to really get involved and learn. If you're going, it doesn't mean you have to get involved in all the gossip and drama, but you really do have to do some deep dives on people in order to be qualified enough to vote. So everybody has the right to vote, but I don't think everybody should. Now, often during the Stay Out the Vote campaign, what I do is instead of, here, we'll give you a free ride to the polls, and we will pick you up and drive you to the polls. Forget that. Instead, if you stay home, I will order, you want Chinese or you want pizza? And I'll get you something good on Netflix if you can find a good movie.
Darling, would you fetch me a beer out of the fridge?
So, I know everything about the Kardashians, Beyonce. and stuff like that. But I know nothing about who my governor is or whoever runs the state. So this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Thank you, darling. I can give you every major stat for the Rockies for the last 15 years, but I can't tell you who the mayor of Denver is. That's the reason why this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Too lazy to stay informed? Then stay home. Stay out the vote. Your country is counting on you.
Now, this is a commercial that goes back a few years, but for some people who are looking to who to vote for president this time around, and they take a look at the controversies of Trump and the controversies of Biden, and they would like to vote for somebody else. Let me recycle an old commercial that I made. What was it, back in 2020? I forget.
Let's face it, 2020 sucks, and you can't trust anything that you hear in the news anymore. Politicians, please find a good one. With the world going as haywire as it's gone, it's about time that we voted for change.
Initiating launch sequence.
A celestial object known as 218 VP1, what a sexy name, is screaming toward Earth and could hit here November 2nd, the day before the election. But since many of you are voting early, we encourage you to take this opportunity. Vote Giant Asteroid 2020, because the Earth just needs to be put out of its misery. Let's face it. Brought to you by the Campaign for Total Planetary Annihilation. Vote 2018 VP1, because 2020 sucks that much.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a while since I played that one. But for some people, they're looking at that and going, oh, God, yes, the asteroid, please. Okay, on Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris announced that the federal government will pay college students to register people to vote, because we have been doing work to promote voter participation for students. And, for example, we have under the federal work-study program now, allowed students to get paid through the federal work-study register to register people to be, nonpartisan poll workers. No such thing. As we know, this is important for a couple of reasons, she says. One, to engage our young leaders in their process and activate them in terms of their ability to strengthen our communities. Word salad, really. Would you like some blue cheese dressing with that? How about $1,000? Grady's and Laramie. That's the issue, though. People, a lot of the time, vote just because of the letter behind what they support. Hopefully that changes this year. Yeah, see, Grady, that's something that always drives me absolutely nuts, too. People who will get into the booth, and they'll just go right down party lines. Well, I'm a Republican, therefore all Republicans. How do you know the Republican you're voting for is really the conservative? Especially when you take a look at the Wyoming House and Senate, how many rhinos are in the Wyoming House and Senate. This is what you get when you just vote straight down the line, instead of stopping and really thinking. And that doesn't mean, oh, no, vote Democrat. I'm not saying that. But there are other choices out there and other things you ought to think about, instead of just going straight down the party line. And I really do wish that people would pay more attention. Now, again, there's a lot of gossip and drama you don't need to pay attention to, but I wish people election cycles would pay more attention. So when it came election time and they got the ballot in their hand, that would not be the first time they ever saw the ballot. They would have learned it, studied it, researched a few things, and whether I agree with their decisions or not, or you do, has nothing to do with it. At least they tried to make an informed decision. As opposed to people who show up at the polls and they just pick. Morning, Chet. Chet and Yoder. I will say propaganda is abundant right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Very little of what is called the news media out there is actually news, as you know, Chet. All right, speaking of news, coming up on local news right after that, update on the weather forecast. Micah, those phones should be up and ready to go. 888-97 Woods is the phone number, 888-97-WOO. DS is Wake Up Wyoming.
plenty.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. On air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Dave in Torrington says, good morning, Glenn. I can translate Camilla's word salad for you. We in the government want these college kids to work the polls so they can get experience and how to cheat correctly. See, thank you, Dave. We needed a translator for our vice. I have no idea half the time what she's saying. Can we get one for the president, too? Micah's in Cheyenne. Morning, Micah.
Yes, that people are oohing and awing over Nikki Haley's D.C. victory.
Right.
Are they stopping to think what D.C. is as a voting entity?
Yeah, even though those were Republicans, they're not Republicans.
These are the people who, for $5, would go in and vote for Marion Barry after he had already been shown that he was a total drug addict on a video that showed him, and then subsequently got thrown into jail. So he actually ran, I think, as a felon, but still won.
Yeah, but I don't think the Republicans.
Really
the Republicans didn't vote for him. The Democrats, who dominate the city, did.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that D.C. is probably doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is just tell these people to go and say that they're a Republican.
Yeah.
And then, guarantee that they're going to go back and then vote for her when the voting time comes.
Right.
But, yeah, I just think that that's such a stitch because that's a whole little pocket where probably half the people are paid off to vote for, what we end up having up on the Hill.
Okay. All right. Well, I think
that's all.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I do still think that she's holding out in the hopes that something happens that could put her in the driver's seat because of all the controversy around Trump. Now, while I'm talking to you, if I sound a little distracted, I am. I'm looking to see anything on the news here. Sometime this hour, theoretically, perhaps maybe, no guarantee. Nothing yet, though. We will get a ruling from the Supreme Court. Now, I don't know. Nobody knows if the ruling is going to be about Trump and Colorado being on the ballot. People are hoping because we'd like to settle that issue and get on with the elections. But the whole time that I'm on the air with you guys here, I keep going over and looking to see has a decision come up yet. Well, okay. I'll just probably hold off until we get to the top of the hour here, until we get to 8 o'clock. And then maybe something will pop up at 8 o'clock.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Coming up on 7:45, off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Just imagine, Don, being stuck in your car all weekend long in Donner Pass.
Yeah, what if you got hungry?
Yeah, I know. So if you're stuck with somebody, right away the Donner Party jokes start. But that's what happened, and also apparently all the way over to Jackson, Wyoming. Wow, they got dumped on.
Yeah, the 4 more inches of snow fell at the Jackson Hole ski area. So if you start to finish, at least the weather between Friday and yesterday, 70 inches of snow reported at the top of the Jackson Hole ski area. Now, they measure that very, very carefully there because that's where they get a lot of the data for the Avalanche Center. So that is a very precise area where they measure that. So 70 inches. There were several areas from Upper Star Valley into the Jackson Hole area, a lot of 30 to 48-inch snow totals. So it wasn't just the mountains, but it got super deep in those high valleys as well.
And yet there seems to be a dividing line because the further east you go, right here in Wyoming, the less snow we get.
Yeah, those mountains catch that moisture, and the terrain makes such a big difference. Remember, it's upslope, those Pacific winds into Wyoming's western mountains. Those westerly winds come down on the other side. That's downslope. When you bring air down, it dries out and warms up. When you push air up, it cools off and you get the moisture out of it. So that is a classic example of where the mountains and the divide make a huge difference.
Okay, so now we head in. This is just Monday here. We head through this week. It looks like it starts on the windy side.
It is going to be windy. I don't think the winds are going to be as strong as they were at times last week, but a persistent and gusty wind. And it's going to be colder. There's nothing terribly cold coming, but we are getting used to some pretty mild temperatures across the state. It's going to be more average temperatures, a lot of upper 30s to upper 40s, which is about where we usually are in early March. We do expect it to get a little bit colder by the end of the week. There's a series of Pacific systems, but they're small. And this is going to keep snow going, especially in those northern and northwest mountains. Jackson's under a winter storm watch again. So the mountains are going to continue to get snow, not a lot on the plains, at least here for another week.
Okay, but that doesn't say none, though, for the plains.
It doesn't say none, but it's going to be more of a snow shower pattern. Basically, what you get is the leftovers. What can make it over those mountains and on into the plains? But those big mountain ranges between here and the Pacific coast are like catcher's mitts. They catch a lot of that moisture. What we have to get out on the plains is we have to get one of these storms that can come over the divide, reform, and get that upslope going on the other side of the mountains. But at least for another week, it's dominating the mountains. Although we need to watch the southeast corner of the state Thursday and Friday for maybe a little bit of upslope that may get into central and southern Wyoming. That'll be something to keep an eye on.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day from Day. Well, I didn't want to hear that. I'm going to be down in Cheyenne during that time. So off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, so imagine you're going to go camping with a bunch of friends, right?
Yeah, we're just going to hang out, build a fire, drink some beer, cook
So
some
let's
food.
save some space, save some money on a camping space. We're just going to get maybe like one camping spot where normally you would put one or two tents, right?
Okay.
Okay, but the picture I'm looking at, Portland, Oregon, they decided to make sort of an apartment out of it. So they built scaffolding, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories high that you would use for a construction site. And then everybody had a floor where they could put up a tent. And I see also on each level, people put up lawn chairs, tables, and hung their laundry.
So it's a 5-level
Yes.
camping site.
Yes.
And they'll probably live there for like months.
They probably could. And yet they only rent one spot.
Right.
Yeah, it's how clever that is. This is a money-saving technique. I would still be afraid of this because it is scaffolding.
It's going to wobble.
Yes. So
anybody who goes up to the top, the people on the bottom, like, hello.
Okay, you do not. Okay, we first, before we let people choose what level they want to be on, when you sleep, do you sleep still or do you toss and turn?
Oh, toss and turn.
If you toss and turn, you're not allowed on the top.
No, because the scaffolding will go back and forth,
Yes.
and everybody like, hey.
Tossing
No.
and turners on the bottom here. Steady sleepers on the top. Also, that scaffolding is going to make a lot of noise. You're going to know what everybody's doing. Also think of this, since you're way up on scaffolding. The guy up at the top who wakes up in the middle of the night and he has to pee.
Well, just right off the top to the over the edge there.
Yeah. So the guy at the bottom is gonna wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Is it raining out there? No.
Really to save like $50 to.
Nobody's going to climb all the way down to the bottom to go off to the outhouse to relieve themselves in the middle of the night.
No.
They're just going to do it right off the top there. So on the one hand, this does look really interesting and fun, but practically I would go, no.
No, it's a pain in the rear end, really.
It certainly is. Then you also have to haul all of that scaffolding to the site and assemble it all. Now, you know your friends very well. Do you trust your friends to properly assemble scaffolding that you can sleep on?
I do, but just the way it is, it's going to wobble around.
And then if you're doing it in Wyoming and it gets windy. No.
Forget about it. So the idea is like, hey, we're going to build this 5-level camping thing. I'm like,
yeah.
I'll pass it.
I looked at it and I thought, wow, that looks really clever and fun. And I thought about it for like another 5 seconds.
It's the dumbest idea you've ever heard. All right, in men's college basketball over the weekend, the Wyoming Cowboys lost again. This time, the Colorado State in Fort Collins, 70-62. Pokes at 13-16 overall, 6-10 in Mountain West play. Pretty much irrelevant now, with 2 games in league play to go, plus the conference tournament in Las Vegas. And UW 5-19, 5 of 19 from the 3-point line. They shot just 38% 10 from the floor. Cam Manyow had a nice game. He had 15 points, but Sam Griffin and Aquale Cott went a combined 4 of 22 from the floor. Cowboys will host Air Force tomorrow at Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team picked up a win over Fresno State on Saturday, 62-51. So they're 16-12 overall, 11-6 in Model West play. And Douglas High School grad Allison Furtick had a terrific game with 24 points on 7-11 from the field and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. And UWB at San Diego State tomorrow. Junior college basketball, the Casper College women rated 17th in the country, beat LCCC in Cheyenne 83-63 to get to 25-5 on the year. Andy Schlichler and Angela Astorga each had 16 points for the T-Birds, who will host the Region 9 tournament this week in Casper. The LCCC women are 11-17 on the year. Casper College men's basketball team beat L Trip 90-86 on Saturday to improve to 22-8. Malik Rebetez had 22 for the Birds, who will host a Region 9 playing game this week. State 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament concluded on Saturday in Casper. In 2A boys, Wyoming Indian won the state championship, beating Lusk 48-42. Tongue River won the 2A girls title with a 46-43 win over Lingle Fort Laramie. Upton repeated as the 1A boys champion with a 55-36 victory over Saratoga, and Southeast won the 1A girls title, beating Upton 45-40. The state 3A and 4A high school basketball tournament will start on Thursday in Casper. In 4A boys, Cheyenne East, Cheyenne Central, Laramie, and Natrona all qualified. In 4A girls, Cheyenne East, Laramie, and Kelly Walsh made the tournament. The state high school indoor track meet concluded on Saturday in Gillette. In 4A boys, Natrona's Caden Lee won 3 events: the high jump, the long jump, and the triple jump. Sheridan won the 4A boys team championship. In 4A girls, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East won 3 events: the 55-meter dash, the 200, and the long jump. Maddie Matson of Cheyenne East also won 3 events: the 800, the 1600, and the 3200. And also Cheyenne East won the 4A girls team title at the state indoor track meet in Gillette. That's it in sports.
So I hope you got some time off this weekend.
No, we're keep moving. You know, like on Saturday we had the state 1A and 2A championship games that were in the afternoon and the evening, so there are a lot of people there. And I ran the Gillette in the morning to go to the state indoor track meet at the rec center up there, and it was packed.
Wow.
I mean, standing room only packed.
Nice. Okay.
And so everywhere you go is like, wow, high school sports, sure, let's go. Yeah.
Send those pictures in, folks.
Oh, absolutely.
Wild Preps
yes.
could use them.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Frank. So, by the way, if you want to follow what Frank does, Wild Preps, there's an app for that. It's free. Just Wild Preps is where you go to your app store, WYO Preps, and that'll download. And you can just keep up with everything he goes to and all the stories and all the pictures, all of that. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast and open phones. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wani.
Trump wins the Colorado Supreme Court case. Hang on, because that's all we know so far.
Today's show is sponsored by banana-scented nose hair clippers. Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
I would definitely clip my nose hairs far more often if I enjoyed the smell of my nose hair clippers. Open phones.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. So I'm listening to news top of the hour here, and just as we're getting to the end of it, sudden announcement, Supreme Court has decided in the Trump Colorado case that Trump has to stay on the ballot in Colorado. Now, for the other states that were trying to kick Trump off the ballot, because, again, insurrection and so on and so on, that affects them too. Because as far as I'm aware, The judges in those other states had also said, but we'll hold our decision to find out what the Supreme Court's going to do. Well, now the Supreme Court has decided. Therefore, if I don't expect it to go this way just because, the kind of people we're dealing with. But what's supposed to happen now is all the other states that wanted to kick Trump off the ballot because of January 6th, now you got to keep him on the ballot, guys. Sorry. And that goes to the guy in Laramie, Wyoming, the former lawyer, he's retired now, who was trying to get Trump kicked off the ballot here in Wyoming due to January 6th. Sorry, guy, the Supreme Court has ruled. And, well, I don't have the opinion in front of me. I'm waiting to see what the opinion is going to be. If we get it, I'll go ahead and read it on the air. So far, news organizations have done nothing but flash the headline that the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump, and they don't have anything else. I even went so far as to look, what is MSNBC going to say? Because they're going to freak out. And this is going to dominate the news today. What had dominated the news was, Nikki Haley finally wins the primary. But Trump, it's going to be Super Tuesday, and Trump's going to dominate that. So what does she do? That's off now. I mean, that'll still be discussed, but now it's primarily, Trump stays on the ballot. Sorry, Democrats, you're going to have to put up with it. He's going to be on the ballots. So expect Freakoutville in Liberalville. I probably could have worded that better. I was the best I could think of off the cuff. But liberals are going to freak out over this. They hate the idea, and they're going to completely freak out. But let them freak out. To me, it really comes down to this. Whether you think he was the cause of an insurrection or not is irrelevant. It really is. Fact of the matter is, Trump was never charged with it. He was never, to my knowledge, he was never formally charged with it. Nobody ever arrested him for it, if they do that. And for that matter, if he wasn't charged for it and not found guilty in a court of law, he has to have his day in court and stand in front of his accusers and make his case. That never happened. Therefore, you cannot charge him with insurrection. Now, that's my take on it. I have no idea yet what the Supreme Court ruled on, how they came to their decision. I'd like to find out. As I'm talking to you, I keep surfing and clicking. I have all these news sites I keep saving and clicking on. Here's Fox finally has something up. Yeah, it doesn't really say a whole lot. Okay. I'm waiting for the decision to be released from the U.S. Supreme Court so I can actually get a look at why they ruled the way that they did. What was their logic behind it? And let me see. There's a Supremes. Here's a little bit more. Okay. It's not too much. The Supreme Court on Monday tossed out the Colorado court ruling that barred Donald Trump from appearing on the state's Republican presidential primary ballot. And again, they talk about insurrection and all of that. The unanimous, hold on. Okay, that's interesting. The unanimous decision. This means that any Democrat out there who says, the court, Donald Trump stacked the court, there's a lot of very liberal judges on that court. Even the liberal judges on the Supreme Court voted in favor of Donald Trump. So for the Democrats that are going to go screaming about, the court's all conservative, your Sotomayor voted in favor of Trump. It was a unanimous decision in Trump's favor by the Supreme Court, which means votes he garnered Tuesday's ballots will count. During oral arguments in the case, many of the court's 9 justices appeared skeptical of the Colorado Supreme Court's rationale and process for disqualifying Trump on the ballot. Quote, I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be on the presidential ballot. Justice Elena Kagan, one of the court's more progressive members. So this is a liberal. So I'm going to read it again. This is a very liberal justice. I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be on the presidential ballot. One of the court's more progressive members said that, again, Justice Elena Kagan, during a hearing with the lawyers as they argued this case orally. After Colorado barred Trump from the ballot, 2 states, Maine and Illinois, did the same. But those decisions are on hold pending appeals by Trump and the frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination. And I'm reading from CNBC, so consider the source. But those states should just drop it because the Supreme Court just ruled. So there you go. All 3 states' decisions to block Trump from their ballots, the story says, were based on the interpretation of Section 3 of the Constitution's 14th Amendment. And then it goes on to describe what that is. Weeks after the riot, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The Supreme Court said we do not reach this decision lightly. We are mindful of the magnitude of the weight of the question before us. We are likewise mindful of our solemn duty to apply the law without fear or favor, without being swayed by public reaction to the decision that we make, which is something I always get a, oh, really? Chet and Yoder is watching The View. Chet, are they freaking out on The View? I wish I could take the time to watch that. That freak out ought to be fun. MSNBC is going to have a great time with this. But okay, the Supreme Court, they're saying here, we're very mindful, but we have to make our decisions based on the law, regardless of public perception. Well, they don't always make their decisions based on the law, Obamacare, for example. But, okay, regardless of the public's reaction to it. So every time you see protesters out in front of the Supreme Court, I always kind of laugh at that. Because protesting is not supposed to mean anything when it comes to the Supreme Court. So why are you bothering to go out there and protest, unless you just want other people to hear you? Don't bother protesting in front of the Supreme Court. It doesn't mean anything to them, nor should they. Now, usually when Judy gets on the phone, I play, Judy, I'm not going to play your regular opening. Hang on through the break, Judy. I have a different opening for you because of this decisions. Wake up.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go. Now, usually when I introduce Judy, I have a special Hey Jude, of course, the Beatles for her. But this time, Trump wins a major Supreme Court victory. So... Jude.
You smart aleck.
Yeah, well, that's what I get paid for.
Anyway, what I was going to tell you, remember when Schumer threatened the Supreme Court that if they didn't vote the way that he thought they should vote, that basically he made a threat to them.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wasn't arrested, because if I'd have made a threat to the Supreme Court, you can bet my little hiney would have been buying bars.
Yeah.
Anyway, the decision was 9-0. And that's good. And I know they had to do that. And the reason they had to do that, because if they do this to Trump, that means later on down the road, we can do it to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a kind of a given there for me. And then when CNN had edited, like you said, Trump never said go to the Capitol and do anything. They edited his video down during election time so that little part where it's peacefully... march to the Capitol, be, respective of our cops, and all of that was left out of the video that they put on the air for most of the country that watched it.
Right.
Anyway, so then we go over to Nikki. Okay, like you said, there was 700,000 in the state, but only 2,000 registered Republicans. I don't know how many crossed over, but... we knew we wouldn't win Washington that way anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
But Trump's already kicked her hiney in 8 other states and just took Michigan, Missouri, and Alabama, Thursday?
Right, and then he sews it up this Tuesday. He completely finishes this off.
Yeah, well, Nikki's only in it to be a spoiler and to be a nasty woman like she is. I never liked her when she was at the UN, being our ambassador. She was always very gnarly to other countries that were our allies. See, I watch all that stuff, Glenn. You know I do.
Yeah.
And she and Rex Tillerson got together, and that's how that coup started against Trump, was Nikki Haley with Rex Tillerson, his general. Then let's go on and see. I don't know if you know who Kash Patel is.
I heard the name, but I'm not familiar.
Oh, you got to look him up. He is just absolutely a great guy. He was a White House lawyer for Trump, and he was also something else for Trump while he was in office. But he came up with Queen of the Swamp, and he did a little meme on it. And I'm going to send it to you. It's funnier than I'll get out. But that's it on that. They couldn't rule any other way, or it would have backfired on them in the next election, I think.
I think it's really going to drive liberals nuts. If you want to have fun, now Chet and Yoder says watch The View when they come on. That's all. That'll be hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
But also, I would say watch the pundits on MSNBC if you want a good laugh, because they're not going to be able to handle that this was a 9-0 decision.
Oh, yeah. No, they're definitely going to be flipped out over that. Also, if I can make a quick announcement for Tuesday night's Board of County Commissioners, I think they're going to have a bunch of people from that Squaw Creek gravel pit show up and talk to the county commissioners. So if anybody's interested, it's 5:30, the old courthouse down on Center Street, third floor, and we'll see you there, I guess.
All right. Thank you, Jude. All right, so 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. It is open phone, so you can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject, fine by me. And, of course, now I had all sorts of things to talk about, but I haven't been able to get to them this morning because all sorts of different news keeps popping up. And, of course, the latest Supreme Court ruling on, which I'm glad they got to it as fast as they could. We really can't drag this out right now, especially because we're in the primaries, and the court knows this. So they went ahead and ruled on this as fast as they could. And it does really interest me, I'm glad to see, that it was a 9-0 decision. But again, those people who are true Trump haters, especially on the left, they are just going to go crazy over the idea that it was a 9-0 decision. And I want to know what Biden's going to say about that, because there are some members of the Supreme Court that are not just a little bit liberal, as you know. They're a lot liberal. But they ruled based on the Constitution and the law. That's how their ruling comes down. The Constitution says this, the law says this, and one state cannot make a decision to keep somebody off the ballot, and I'm going to say, and keep them off the ballot over something that they have been accused of but never officially charged with and never had a day in court over. You just can't do that. So if he's on, this is the next thing I'm waiting for here, and as I'm talking to you, I keep clicking on different news sites to see if anyone's popped up with this. But if this is the way that the Supreme Court has ruled for Colorado, then Maine and Illinois need to drop it as well. And they said they would. So they should drop it as well. And then the gentleman, and I'm using that loosely, but I don't know, the gentleman from Laramie, Wyoming, who tried to get Trump off the ballot here in Wyoming, needs to drop that as well. Now, just between you conservatives out there and me, psst, come here. Turn your radio down, but put your ear up against the speaker so I can whisper this to you. I'm not going to be like Creepy Joe, though, okay? Because Creepy Joe Biden just starts whispering for no reason whatsoever. Okay. Just between you and me, no liberals listening, right? What do you think that the Democrats are going to do next to try to disqualify Trump? All right. They have all these court cases out there like crazy. They have all sorts of court cases. They're trying to do anything they can to discredit him, to financially ruin him, and they even tried to just straight out take him off the ballot. And I know that you guys listening want him on the ballot. So now that they've lost the Supreme Court case, and that means he's got to be back on in Colorado, and these other two states have to drop it too. So just let your imagination run wild. What do you think their next plan is? They've got some trick up their sleeve. You know they do. And the reason we're whispering is because they're not going to tell us, are they? No. But the closer we get to Election Day, the faster they're going to spring it. So we get really close, not just to, the Republican caucus, when they finally get all the primaries done and they have their convention, they'll try to pull something there, I think. I don't know what. I can't tell you what. I just think they'll try to pull something. Then as we get close to Election Day, the October surprise thing we always hear about? Okay. So there'll be some kind of October surprise thing where at the last possible minute, they're holding something in reserve. It's like you're playing poker with them and they have an ace up their sleeve. Yeah, there's an extra ace in the deck now, but it's actually up their sleeve. There's a fifth ace. You know the Democrats. So at the last minute, they're going to toss that sucker out there to try to do what they can. And what do you think it's going to be? Just let your imagination run wild. Stupid answers are welcome too. I am all in favor of that. 888-97 Woods, number it's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject. I'll just kind of roll with the whole thing. News time is coming up next. That's local news. After a local news update on the weather forecast, then you and I get back into it with a nice long segment of open phones. I'm actually going to get onto some other subjects. But if you want to drag me back to this, we can do that too. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, so it is open phones, 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WOODS. All right, so I've covered everything I have for now. In case you haven't heard, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Trump in the Colorado case, so Trump stays on the ballot. It was a 9-0 decision by the courts. So you can't blame a conservative court for this because very liberal members of the court also voted in favor of Trump in this case. So that means the two other states that had taken him off the ballot have to put him back on. All right. If you want to go back to that, we can. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Or you can text me over the Wake Up Wyoming app, which a lot of people do. Mike and Casper, Chet and Yoder, people like that. Send me text messages off the app. What they do is just grab their app and hit chat. The app is free to download at your app store. Just Wake Up Wyoming. Use the chat option to talk with me. All right, in other news, you can drag me back to that if you want to. In other news. So last week, I was pointing out that the Wyoming Senate had passed a bill that would defund the DEI department, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department, at the University of Wyoming, which is something I've been advocating for a very long time for a multitude of reasons. All right. The House of Representatives had the same bill, but they didn't quite pass it. So the Senate did, the House did. And they got to come to terms on that to decide what to do, and I hope that they defund it. On that note, University of Florida fired all of its DEI staff. The story says, Ron DeSantis, a Republican, late last year, Florida's public universities ordered them to disclose all government funds spent toward programs, classes, and other initiatives related to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the teaching of critical race theory. In its official reply, Gainesville-based University of Florida, which has roughly about 8,000 academics, 60,000 students, said it runs some 30 to 40 DEI schemes at the cost of more than $5 million per year. That's really disturbing. This gives you a great idea as why your kids come out of college the way that they are. This is how much money they're spending on this stuff. Using Florida's Freedom of Information law, they obtained the files showing the university has spearheaded 1,018 separate DEI initiatives focused on recruitment, training, and even diversity, affirming diverse identities, et cetera, et cetera. Now, my objection to this is, what did you send your kids to college for? This? Or did you, if I'm sending a kid to college, I want the kid to get an education that will help him get a good career path going. I don't send him to college so the kid will be, well, molded by the far left. That's not what I want. The whole purpose of this is to get skills necessary, knowledge and skills necessary, so they can have a good career in something. Not this indoctrination. This is not what universities are supposed to be doing. So the complete inventory of DEI work listed hundreds of projects concerning everything from legacy, slavery, oppression, decolonization, all from a leftist point of view. Many other topics, too, all from a leftist point of view. University of Wyoming, well, nothing from a right-wing point of view, all leftist point of view, all one-sided. University of Florida announced it has closed its office and let go its chief diversity officer in compliance with the Florida Board of Governors regulations, according to a memo. Quote, to comply with the Florida Board of Governors regulation on prohibiting expenditures of this sort, University of Florida has closed its office of chief diversity officer. In addition to closing the office of chief diversity officer, the University of Florida also eliminated DEI positions and administrative appointments and halted DEI-focused contracts with outside vendors, according to the statement. As a result of the changes, 13 full-time positions were eliminated immediately. Administrative appointments have ended for 15 members of the faculty, and $5 million in funds will be reallocated for actually teaching students, supposedly, what they go to college for. You know, I go to college because I want to become an architect. I go to college because I want to be a lawyer, right? Whatever the case may be, you go to college because you have a career goal in mind, and college is supposed to teach you what you need to know toward that career goal. Not indoctrination in leftist points of view, or right-wing points of view for that matter. That's not what you're supposed to be there. This is why I like it when students decide that they're going to go to a vocational school. Well, I want to learn how to be a welder or an electrician or a plumber or something like that. A mechanic. And so the courses that they take are directly in line with just doing that, not all of this side garbage. So the number of positions at Michigan's flagship university advancing DEI exceeds more than 500. So if you're going to the University of Michigan, they have 500 people in the Department of Equity and Inclusion, full and part-time, factoring in an open position as well as employed. The unit leads others. Okay, so it's one of the busiest in the nation. Okay, so what then about the University of Wyoming? Because once again, I'd said before that this is not what college is for. And oftentimes these DEI, whoever's in charge, you know, the director, if you will, as well as the classes and so on, are not actually trying to bring us together. They're causing the exact problems that they say that they're trying to solve. And this is one of the reasons I'd like it out of the schools. That way, again, when a kid shows up at the University of Wyoming, I want a degree in this because this is what I want to do as a chosen profession. Then the classes should be geared toward that, with not all of this extra indoctrination going on in anything. And again, I don't care about the point of view. Get rid of it. So we're talking millions of dollars going to the University of Wyoming. I think the total, last I looked, was offered up about $407 million. Not for DEI, just to the University of Wyoming. How much of that goes to the DEI, not just the office, but all the other projects they have going on? Okay, so let's get rid of that. Let's defund that. Let's get rid of it. If Florida can do it, Wyoming can certainly do it. We keep getting called in Wyoming the most conservative state, but I don't really see that anyway. But I would like to see, I'm glad the Senate passed something. I'd like the House to be able to pass it too. Then we'll see if the governor's on board or not. I have no idea. When it comes to fighting DEI in the workplace, in companies and offices, the governor's on board with getting rid of it. Is he interested in getting rid of it at the University of Wyoming as well? Well, first we have to pass the bill through the House. It's already been passed through the Senate. Then we'll see what happens next. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Woke Radio, WOKE, broadcasting from Mom's basement until climate change floods it, which according to Greta Thunberg could be any day now, at which point we'll move up to the attic right between the TV antenna and that smelly steamer trunk.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
8:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, punctuation is really important.
It is. I mean, well, let's put it this way. It used to be.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
No.
I still don't understand, like, semicolons and colons.
Oh, okay. It gets kind of complicated for you.
Is it a semicolon was the dot on the top and then the comma on the bottom, or is it the two dots?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you can go look them up as to what reason you use them, but you don't have to. There's clever ways just to use commas.
Okay.
Okay, but now here's a place where somebody needed to use a comma but didn't. It's a sign for a convenience store, and it's a place where you go to get fishing supplies and so on. So it's by the water.
Okay.
And they have bait sandwiches.
Oh, bait sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh, should it have been bait, comma, sandwiches?
Yes.
Oh.
See, that would have been.
Well, bait sandwiches may have been good for somebody.
Or you could have used the ampersand for and, bait and sandwiches.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been good too.
That's the swirly thing that it looks like a figure eight kind of.
Yes, kind of does, yeah. But bait sandwiches.
Bait sandwiches.
Okay. Now, not necessarily. I mean, if you have ever had, let's take a shrimp salad sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. I like shrimp. So shrimp salad sandwich is really good. But I don't think that's what they were going for, Frank.
Do you think that anybody that reads those signs actually will go in to the clerk, who has nothing to do with it, by the way, say, you know what, your sign is all screwed up?
No, I'm worse than that, Frank. I walk in and say, I would like a bait sandwich. And the guy would look at me like, huh? Well, your sign.
Your sign says bait sandwich.
It says right up there. It says bait sandwiches. So I assume you're going to make me a bait sandwich?
Yeah.
I have done stuff like that before when the sign just didn't make sense and walked in and said, hey, could I have... That's what you're advertising.
Well, how long did it take them to get that long stick?
Yeah.
With the letters and the numbers and the commas to put it up there.
This is worse than that. The letters are huge, and they're made out of plywood and then painted white and then hung up permanently above the store.
Oh.
Yeah. So...
you can't fix that.
You couldn't have taken your skill saw and carved out
a comma.
I understand. I'm not going to do the ampersand with my skill saw unless I'm showing off. But you can go, or reciprocating saw would have done that and show off with that. But no, I'll just make a comma. It's a lot less. Try that at least, Frank. They could have. In the meantime, I want to try a bait sandwich.
There you go. Men's college basketball from over the weekend. The Wyoming Cowboys lost to Colorado State in Fort Collins 70-62. So they're 13-16 overall, 6-10 in Mountain West, playing pretty much irrelevant now with just 2 games to play in the league and the conference tournament in Las Vegas. And UW was 5 of 19 from the three-point line. They shot just 38% from the floor. Cam Manyao had a nice game, 15 points, but Sam Griffin and Aquale Cott went a combined 4 of 22 from from the floor. Cowboys will host the Air Force tomorrow in Laramie. The Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team picked up a win over Fresno State on Saturday, 62-51. So they're 16-12 overall, 11-6 in Mountain West play. Douglas High School grad Allison Fertig had a terrific game with 24 points on 7 of 11 from the field and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. UW will be at San Diego State tomorrow. Junior college basketball, the Casper College women rated 17th in the country beat LCCC in Cheyenne on Saturday, 83-63. So they're 25-5 on the year. Andy Schlister and Angela Astorga each had 16 points for the T-Birds, who will host the Region 9 tournament this week. The LCCC women are 11-17 on the year. The Casper College men's team beat L-Trip 90-86 on Saturday, so they get to 22-8. Malik Rebetas had 22 for the Birds, who will host a Region 9 playing game this week. The state 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament concluded on Saturday in Casper. In 2A boys, Wyoming Indian beat Lusk 48-42 for the state title. Tongue River won the 2A girls title, beating Lingo Fort Laramie 46-43. Upton repeated as the 1A boys champion with a 55-36 win over Saratoga, and Southeast won the 1A girls title with a 45-40 win over Upton. The state 3A and 4A tournament will start on Thursday in Casper. In 4A boys, Cheyenne East, Cheyenne Central, Laramie, and Natrona all qualified. In 4A girls, Cheyenne East, Laramie, and Kelly Walsh made the tournament. The state high school indoor track meet concluded on Saturday in Gillette. In 4A boys, Natrona's Caden Lee won 3 events: the high jump, the long jump, and the triple jump. Sheridan won the 4A boys team championship. In 4A girls, Talia Morris from Cheyenne East won 3 events: the 55-meter dash, the 200, and the long jump. Maddie Matson of Cheyenne East won 3 events: the 800, the 1600, and the 3200. Cheyenne East also won the 4A girls team title, and that's in sports.
So I'm watching something to see how this ends. This guy has a lot of snow hanging over his roof on the second floor. Oh, okay. So he needs the snow to fall.
Right.
So he just starts to throw his shovel at the snow.
And he gets hit by the shovel when it comes down.
Well, not yet, but now the shovel did just get stuck up there. So now he's throwing like a big hammer to try to get the
shovel.
Yes.
The hammer will hit him on the head. So then the shovel will hit him on the head, and then all the snow will come down and bury him.
Yeah, all of this has got to be how this ends. All of the tools plus the snow. Now he's got 2 tools. He has an axe and a shovel caught in the snow, 2 stories up.
He's not the sharpest tool in the box.
No, he's not. But he's about to get the sharpest tool in the box. Thank you, Frank. No, I'm actually watching this right now on Facebook. I'm hoping it all collapses on him and brings him his tools back. Let's wake up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Monday, and it's been a weird one for me. I mean, a very unusual day today, but things working out just fine. It's open phones.
Today's show is sponsored by Banana Scented Nose Hair Clippers. Clipping your nose hair never smelled so good.
And we're going to go with banana. You can picture all sorts of other scents that would make you trim your nose hairs far more often.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So, okay, just to get this out of the way, there's a story I put up this morning on the Wake Up Wyoming site. Over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and through today, a lot of snow has fallen on I-80 in California, stranding a whole bunch of drivers right in Donner Pass. Yes, Donner, as in the Donner Party. And they've been stuck for days. And rescuers are going in, pulling the people out, not even trying to get the vehicle out. It's not worth it. And snow keeps coming down. Can you imagine being stuck in your vehicle for several days in Donner Pass where the Donner Party got stuck? If you're with somebody else, imagine you can just go ahead and take a look at them like, you're looking delicious today. I mean, just imagine the jokes that would naturally come from, okay, get that out of the way. Now, Chet and Yoder. I'm glad you're doing this, Chet. Keep me apprised of this. This is funny. So Chet and Yoder decided to turn on the TV show The View. Chet, I hope that you brought like something to clear your eyes out after watching that. Don't watch too long because it's going to affect, you're going to get tinnitus in your ears. You're going to. But all right. The reason for this is the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Donald Trump in the Colorado case. So Trump stays on the ballot in Colorado, which means the other two states, Maine and Illinois, have to also drop their cases and put Trump back on the ballot. Now, I wanted to know what the freak out. I also want to see a bunch of memes because the internet will be filled with memes based on this. And there's going to be a leftist freak out. There's going to be, which is going to be fun to watch. So Chet in Yoder goes and turns on The View. Okay, so here's what Chet has told me so far. And thank you for monitoring this. But so far, let's see. It says 9, very good. Okay, typical, they're saying the court was partisan. That's not possible. It was a 9-0 decision. And the liberals on the court, on the U.S. Supreme Court, are very liberal. Very liberal. Very. But they still voted in favor of Trump based on the law and the Constitution. So they're trying to say it was partisan. The next thing Chet says is talk about a spin cycle. Oh, my God. Yeah, I can imagine there's going to be a spin cycle. But this is what we're going to get. They're going to have to find some way on the left to explain this out. They cannot say, they're going to try, you cannot say this was a partisan court. It was a 9-0 decision, and the most liberal judges ruled in favor of Trump. All right? And that's because they follow the Constitution and the law. So we've already talked about why, but okay. It's going to be kind of fun to watch the freak out based on this. Meantime, Nikki Haley finally won a primary. She won the Washington, D.C. primary. There's over 700,000 people in the city limits of Washington, D.C. So she won 65% of the Republican vote, which is only 2,000 people. Trump didn't even try because he knows he's not going to win the Republicans in Washington, D.C., because most of the Republicans in D.C. are too liberal. So he's not even going to try. Other than that, he's so far ahead. And we got Super Tuesday coming up, so he'll probably sweep that. And we see what happens after that. That's going to be interesting. All right, now, 888-97 Woods phone number, that's 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject, fine. I'll roll with it. Not a problem. Let's switch gears. Unless you want to move me back to these topics, let's switch gears. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in a nightclub with a bunch of sweaty young people dancing to the rhythm of the music with Greta Thunberg on the big screen above your heads in the dance hall, angrily looking down at everybody and saying, "How dare you?" Yeah, because, you're not supposed to show up in a car. You were supposed to show up at the dance hall on a bike or walk or something like that, but okay. From the UK Telegraph, this is a quote, their headline. The American revolts against green energy, which I reject the term green for green energy. It's not. The American revolt against green energy has begun. There is no such thing as a wind or solar farm, just an ugly industrial site. That's what the story says. Now, that's a headline. The story reads, on a story filled with the standard climate alarmism narratives, USA Today recently reported on the rising movement by local governments in the United States to refuse to permit unwanted wind and solar sites in their jurisdictions as industrial sites. After setting the stage by parroting the Biden administration goal of 100%. Now, Biden, Biden uses clean energy, and again, it's not. But 100% wind and solar by 2035. The goal that depends on building large-scale wind and solar. USA Today points out the reality that such big, intrusive, ugly sites demonstrate, well, they've been rejected, as many countries have done, but also counties and cities in America. The writers complain that the rejections come about by some combination of outright bans, moratoriums, constructions, permitting things, conditions that make it difficult to build wind and solar. But they don't go in to describe really why the rejection is taking place. So simply put, these huge industrial sites, wind and solar sites, we simply must stop using the friendly-sounding term farms to describe them, says this author. Create all manner of negative consequences when you build these things for local communities. Consequences, noise of the wind turbines, dead birds and bats sprinkled across the countryside, thousands of acres of productive farm and ranch land taken out of production for many years, if not permanently, spoiled views, intermittent wind and solar energy, higher energy prices, 150-foot tall blades and solar panels popping up all over the place, and it impacts to the wind, the weather, animal migration, and et cetera, et cetera. The consequences, the story says, has become more increasingly clear as times have progressed, that this is making it a lot harder for developers to gain acceptance in the United States. Okay, that's the short version of the story there. That it's just a lot harder for them to gain acceptance. In the meantime, here in Wyoming, people want to throw up a whole lot more of these things. And I know Wyoming has a lot of space. We do. We have loads of space. We also have migrating animals and a lot of birds, including endangered birds, and other problems as well that come with this, including intermittent energy from a not green source that raises our electric rates. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Who put the toaster oven on 6? I mean, that's not even good toast. 4 is good toast. 5 is burnt toast, but 6? What were you cremating in my toaster oven?
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. I just found a meme that I shared with Miss Mary. It shows a woman on a telephone. When I get bored, I call in sick to places I don't work. Tomorrow, I'm getting written up at Walmart. Just good. Chet and Yoder had to bail on us. He was watching The View and reporting back on The View's take on Trump winning a 9-0 victory at the Supreme Court about Colorado and other states taking him off the ballot. Chet says, sorry, Glenn, I can't stand it anymore. I'm getting dizzy. I can absolutely believe that. Ladies and gentlemen, according to some people, we are living in the last days, the climate apocalypse.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
So, New York's net zero policies leave its grid struggling to support new and expanded industries. This is important because here we're in the state of Wyoming where the governor doesn't want just net zero, he wants negative. I guess net negative is what it is. Yeah, below net zero. He wants even more CO2 taken out than that. The story in front of me reads, a semiconductor manufacturer was looking to expand one of its New York campuses. But as the state tries to eliminate electricity generated from organic fuels, it says fossil fuels, I'm correcting it. It finds itself with a dwindling supply to support expanded industrial capacity. Global Foundries' current factory in Malta, New York. This campus employs about 2,500 people, according to the Times Union. And the expansion would add about 1,500 more jobs. That's considerable. It would also create 9,000 construction jobs between the Malta project and the Vermont facility. The $12.5 billion project, the Times Union reports, is receiving $1.5 billion in federal funding. I'm opposed to that. On top of federal loans, state and local government subsidies. All of that I'm opposed to. All of those loans and stuff but all right. And despite the large investment by government and a boost in employment from the Malta project, well, New York, they're beginning to worry about their grid. The state has been doling out tens and billions in tax incentives to expand semiconductor manufacturing. But how do you do that when the grid is less and less able to handle it? And that's because they're trying to reach this net zero thing, and they're just not able to do it. I mean, it's really weakening their grid and what is reliable energy. Howard is in Cheyenne. Hello, Howard.
Good morning. Okay, if you want to see a solar energy source in action, drive along the California, Arizona border.
Right.
You'll see a tower with a boiler on top, and there's a mirror range which shines the sunlight on the boiler. Every once in a while, you'll see a puff of white. That's a bird being incinerated.
Yeah.
You know, these and so-called environmentalists are against doing anything to harm animals, but it's okay if they incinerate birds or chop up bats and birds. That's fine.
That one that you're talking about in California, I'll have to double check. Now, last I heard, not only was it killing a bunch of birds by frying them in midair, whole flocks of birds, but also it was not creating anywhere near the energy that was promised. I know, Howard, that comes as a big shock to you. So the last I heard, I'll have to double check, they were going to decommission the thing after loads of money spent and God knows how many dead birds. They're just going to decommission the whole thing because what was promised was never delivered as far as how much energy it would create.
Yep. Well, hey, the facts of life are tough to get by,
sometimes. Sometimes reality just bites, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Howard. I appreciate you calling in. So, on that note, you ever notice, and this is typical, anytime a company wants to do business and they offer something up, they always make it sound better than it really is. So, for example, if you're buying a car, they always tell you that the gas mileage is a little bit better than it actually is. Very typical, right? Now, they estimate gas mileage on various things, but they always do what they can to make the gas mileage sound better than it really is. They always try to make the car seem like it's going to perform better when you step on the gas, things like that. But they're trying to sell you a car, so they're going to try to make it sound as... Even when it comes, if you're going to finance that car, they try to make it sound like you're going to get this fantastic deal. What a great deal you're going to get. The best deal ever. They'll try to make it sound that way, but you usually don't get that deal because they have to exaggerate it to make it sound better than it really is. And so many things do that. I know when, I'm really into airplanes. When I take a look at private airplanes, general aviation, they always advertise the airplanes to be faster and more fuel efficient than they really are when actually used. It's always that way. Same thing goes for wind and solar farms. When they say they're going to put up a wind farm or a solar farm, they always tell us that the cost is going to be less than it actually turns out to be. That the cost to the environment is going to be less. That's why they lie to us with clean, green, sustainable. It's none of those things. It's not even affordable. Without subsidies, you're not doing it. And then they lie to us about the reliability of it. They tell us we're going to get so much energy out of that wind farm or that solar farm, but we don't get that much energy out of it. We never will. It'll never achieve what they said it was going to achieve as far as how much energy it's actually going to create. It never gets even close to it. But they were trying to sell it to us, right? So when they try to sell it to us, they'll exaggerate the hell out of it. Coming up on local news, right after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I dive back into it again with some open phones. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
Okay, real quick, it's already kind of begun. I'm going to go back to, I can't stay on this site for very long. This is the MSNBC site. It melts my computer. MSNBC is trying to write of the Supreme Court 9-0 decision regarding leaving Donald Trump on the ballot. Sotomayor and Kagan and Jackson protest majority in Colorado Trump ballot case. That sounds horrible. I'm going to read that again. Sotomayor, Kagan, Jackson, the three liberal, very liberal members of the Supreme Court. Protest majority in Colorado Trump ballot case. Again, that sounds horrible. And they know at MSNBC that most people don't read beyond the headline. In fact, you have to go down a little bit into the story, which most people don't get to, before you finally find out that they agreed with the decision. That's why it was a 9-0 decision. But there were some minor argumentative details that they had some disagreements with, but nothing that would have changed their decision. But MSNBC cannot handle the idea that it's a 9-0 decision, so they got to make it seem otherwise. But okay, wait till the memes hit the internet. I haven't seen any yet, but memes will hit the internet on this. It's going to be hysterical. And the meltdown will be hysterical too. Okay, now, Cheyenne, Wyoming, you're up. You might help me out here on this. There was a shoplifter in Cheyenne, and I want to say it was a Walgreens shoplifter, but she didn't make it out of the store because of the customers. And when I read the story, I noticed that some people were commenting, this is Wyoming. We don't do that here. Yeah, she had a cartload of goods. She didn't just have one item. She had like a cartload of goods, and she was just going to go walking out of the store. You know, like they do in California in some cities, where they can just load up a cart, and as long as it's below $900 some, they can just walk right out. Well, can't get away with that like you could there in Wyoming. And there's been other places where shoplifters have been stopped. Here's a story that goes along those lines. Headline, are these Home Depot customers wrong for the way they treated a shoplifter? Well, let's find out. Shoplifter, it shows a guy pushing a shopping cart full of goods out of Home Depot. And citizens at the Home Depot parking lot take matters into their own hands. Now, what I'm going to do is a play-by-play. I have the video up in front of me. Here he is walking out. Someone is shooting video of him. So people are following this guy, shooting video of him on their phones. All right, he's trying to pick up speed and walk toward his car, and people are catching up to him. All right, now people are surrounding the shopping cart, and now he's trying to fight back a little bit. They're pushing on him. And he's trying to continue to push his cart. Now they tip the cart over. All right, so he's trying to pick up the stuff and put it in the cart, and they shove him to the ground. And he keeps trying to get up and pick up the stuff that he's trying to steal, and they keep pushing him down to the ground. Now he's up again. He's trying to get to his vehicle, and every time he turns up and down the aisle where all the cars are parked in the parking lot, he meets more people. And more people keep grabbing him and shoving him down to the ground. And he is determined. He had several boxes of stuff that he was stealing from Home Depot that he can carry in a box he can carry in one hand. And they're not letting him have it. Now, I'm not going to play the audio because I expect a lot of expletive deletives here. But you better believe they're cussing him out. So when I look at this, the question being asked, are these Home Depot customers wrong for the way they treated the shoplifter? Okay. Some of you may disagree with me on this. I would say no. I'm going to say no. Because they don't try, from what I see anyway, because the video ends at a certain point. They don't ball up their fists and beat the guy. I'm not going to play the audio on the air. There's a lot of verbal abuse going on of the shoplifter. He's surrounded by probably about 10 people, I counted. And they're verbally abusing the shoplifter, and they tipped over the cart, and then they shoved him to the ground multiple times. But no one is trying to punch him or kick him. Okay, they're just not letting him get away. And my understanding is they held him there until police showed up. Now, if they had gotten really physically abusive with him, I would have said I have a problem with that. But they don't. What they do is they make sure he's not getting away. That cart's not going anywhere. He's not picking up anything in the cart and walking off. And it's not just that they're not letting him get to his own vehicle. They're holding him from getting to his own vehicle. Or that they pushed him to the ground a couple of times. I think what, more than anything else, will stick in this guy's mind is the verbal abuse that he got from a whole group of people. You don't shoplift in our town. You don't do that here. You're not getting away with this. You don't. And multiple people were shooting video with their phones. So they have him. They have him on phone. I'm sure he'll try to sue back. They have him on video. And they have multiple witnesses who stopped and held him until the police showed up. And in Cheyenne, Wyoming, while it wasn't quite like that, still multiple people, my understanding is, stopped a shoplifter from getting out of and I want to say it was a Walgreens. It's been a few days since I've read the story, but I want to say it was a Walgreens, with the idea that you don't do that here in Wyoming. Now, California, you just walk out of the store and take it home. So when the question is asked in the headline, did these people go too far? My answer is no. If they had gone any further, I would have had a problem with it, but I think they did just fine. 9:42, wake up.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
9:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. All right, Frank, there's a new sport, and I think you'll really get into it.
All right, let me run it by me.
You've seen these guys with the jetpacks where they have the thrusters on their arms?
Yeah, they can go up and down. And
yes, okay.
You know.
Now they're racing.
Good.
Yeah, and
wait till there's a fatality and see if they can
no!
race.
What they're racing. First off, I know they have flotation devices on too. To make it safer, they're racing over the water, so they'll go up and down different canals. Rivers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That way, yeah. If they splash down, they hit the water.
I just have, when you say racing, I see these 3 or 4 guys in jetpacks, racing across the horizon.
No, nothing like that, no. Which does remind me, every time you watch an old Western movie and the hero rides off into the sunset, okay, take how fast a horse walks and how long it takes the sun to set. So he's probably about like 3 miles out of town, if that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference. Anyway, he should have just spent the night. But okay, it's kind of fun to watch these guys. It really is. First off, it's difficult to learn how to use those jetpacks.
I would say so. I mean, wouldn't it be like flying? Like, okay, you need to do this to go left, you need to do this to go right, you need to do this to go up, and you need to go down.
I would guess, if you see the way they hold, because, again, the thrusters are on their hands.
Yeah.
So that's going to take some muscle, you would think, right? I suppose they have a body strap or harness.
Well, it's still, I think, going to be, if you think it's going to be a smooth ride, I think that's not going to be the case.
No. And then I also have to wonder if they're going to race, I haven't looked it up yet, how long do you think they have before they run out of fuel? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I would love to see them go ahead and get up there and head down a canal somewhere. In fact, we have rivers like in Wyoming, like the Platte and the Green River. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be fun?
Just to go skim
Yes,
right over
just to watch them skim down. We can line the shorelines with fans and let them go skimming down the Platte River into whatever downtown. Okay. And where they cross the finish line and stop. And in most cases, if they do wipe out, they're not going to sink very far. So, they're okay. Or you can go to some of our reservoirs, Glendo, Alcova, places like that.
Yeah.
And let them go across. Okay, you're going to race from one end of the lake to the next. That should be cool to watch.
What do you think how fast those things could go?
That's another one I'm kind of wondering, too. Because when I watch them, those guys are cooking along pretty good. But I don't know what that is in miles per hour.
Well, and how fast is their top speed can be sustained.
Okay. So while you're doing news, I now have something to look up.
All righty, then. The state high school indoor track meet did conclude on Saturday in Gillette. In 4A boys, Natrona's Caden Lee won 3 events, the high jump, the long jump, and the triple jump. Sheridan won the 4A boys team championship. In 4A girls, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East won 3 events, the 55-meter dash, the 200, and the long jump. Maddie Batson of Cheyenne East also won 3 events, the 800, the 1600, and the 3200, and she is just a freshman. Cheyenne East won the 4A girls title. State 1A and 2A high school basketball tournament concluded on Saturday in Casper. In 2A, the Wyoming Indian boys beat Lusk 48-42 for the state championship. Tongue River won the 2A girls title, beating Lingo Fort Laramie 46-43. Upton repeated as the 1A boys champion with a 55-36 victory over Saratoga, and Southeast won the 1A girls title, beating Upton 45-40. The state 3A and 4A tournament will begin on Thursday in Casper. In 4A boys, Cheyenne East, Cheyenne Central, Laramie, and Natrona all qualified. In 4A girls, Cheyenne East, Laramie, and Kelly Walsh made the tournament. In men's college basketball from over the weekend, the Wyoming Cowboys lost again, this time to Colorado State in Fort Collins, 70-62. Pokes are 13-16 overall. They are 6-10 in Mountain West play and pretty much irrelevant now with just 2 games remaining in league play plus the conference tournament in Las Vegas. Cowboys were 5 of 19 from the three-point line and shot 38% from the floor. Cam Maniau had a nice game, 15 points, but Sam Griffin and Aquale Cott went a combined 4 of 22 from the floor. Cowboys will host Air Force tomorrow in Laramie. Wyoming Cowgirl basketball team picked up a win over Fresno State on Saturday. They'll be at San Diego State tomorrow. The Cowgirls are 16-12 overall, 11-6 in Mountain West play, so they're going to be in a good position to get a decent seed at the Mountain West Conference Tournament in Las Vegas. Douglas High School grad Allison Furtick had a terrific game with 24 points on 7 of 11 from the field and 10 of 11 from the free throw line. In junior college basketball, the Casper College women rated 17th in the country beat LCCC in Cheyenne on Saturday 83-63. They're 25-5 on the year. Andy Schissler and Angela Estorga each had 16 points for the T-Birds, who will host the Region 9 tournament this week. The LCCC women are 11-17 on the year. Casper College men's team beat LTRIP 90-86 on Saturday to improve the 22-8. Malik Rabetas had 22 for the Birds. They will host a Region 9 playing game this week, so it's going to be busy again in Casper for basketball.
So you might remember the jetpack from, remember the Olympics in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Where they flew the jetpack around the stadium. That one only went for about 30 seconds, and it could get a top speed of about 77 miles an hour. Okay.
77?
Yeah. Today's jetpacks, which are much improved.
Yes.
Okay. They can go up to 46 miles an hour at up to 3,000 feet.
Ew.
For a duration of about 30 minutes. My thought is, if you're going to go up to 3,000 feet, you better make sure you're down in time, unless you have a parachute on your back, because 3,000 feet fall will kill you, no matter where you are.
The fastest jetpack I saw in the movies was Jet Jaguar. He was a friend of Godzilla's, and he would land, and they would talk in signals.
Yeah,
and then he would take off at supersonic speeds to the next place, and Godzilla would follow him.
We had the best movies in our youth.
Yes.
Let's wake up, Wyoming.